Let's start the broadcast. Humble Slice of Black Hippie Jesus here. The podcast. The broadcast. Alright, let's get in it. Might be a little too loud. Like the music just coming and hitting. I need a DJ. Producer. So we can start making music. I'm gonna start leaving my email. KwameSelassie222@gmail.com. If people want to collaborate, I'm just gonna leave it open because I try to reach out to people and collaborate, and it's never worked. So what's best is, hey, if you want to collaborate, I'm open to always promoting, starting something that builds all of our communities together. That's the aim of all life, should be unity, you know. So we lack unity in our communities. We need to build stronger bonds so that we can actually get things done as a society instead of being in our emotions and our feelings, distrusting each other, distrusting each other's motives. There's all types of things that keep us apart, but we gotta unify if we want to reach to the sky. All right. This podcast is called The Awakening, the Journey Part 2. Where I recount my awakening journey all the way up until this point. So we're gonna get into it. Talk about the awakening journey part 2. So, if you haven't watched the last episode, you can go back to. I have it on YouTube. It's on YouTube and on my Facebook. YouTube as we're here, the Black Hippie Jesus on YouTube, and you can check that out there. Well, the Awakening Journey Part 2. So in 2020, going into 2021, I do want to back up, though. I do want to do a little bit of backup to talk about an aspect of reality I was dealing with back in 2020 that was awakening me as well. As I was going on my awakening journey, there was one aspect of reality that I ponder about a lot, I write about, I talk about, because just to give people perspective, when I say I'm a hippie, I'm a counterculture, social movement revolutionist. So I'm all about changing and challenging. The status quo of the culture, whatever that is, whatever people are doing that's not working. I'm saying let's examine this, let's talk about it. The conversation that people are afraid to have. So by having these conversations, that we can make society better. That we can make the cultural things that we do better. We have to use consciousness, and that's what I talk about. It makes people mad, but I talk about using your consciousness to be able to decipher reality better, and that understanding of life makes it a lot better for me when I understand life that way. So I'm dedicating my life to consciousness. I'm dedicated with expanding consciousness, opening consciousness, and a part of that is talking about the real subjects. That our culture and society faces today. So this is Awakening Journey Part 2. Let's get in. I'm getting warmed up. I gotta get my vibes. So bear with me. So I'm a hippie counterculture revolutionist. Having a revolutionary mind in certain times we need, because people are blindly following everything from birth. We're put into a mind matrix. physical matrix at that, where we're sold into an entire system, and our way of thinking is corrupted, and we need to actually reevaluate the way we think about reality and society. So I was leading to after 2020. Back to 2020, going through that incredible year, a milestone year, where the last episode I was talking about my gifts awakened, my spiritual gifts really started to like manifest my ability to see the future, and I was bugging out because I was seeing like, that's where I have to rewind and go back. Let me just cut this off real quick so I can tell this story. So telling the story about my journey in 2020. I gotta put that out. About my journey in 2020. My gifts awakened. I was able to see what was happening based on what I was studying in history, like following a trail to a certain point. That where we are today, and now that we're here at this moment, this juncture in history, I'm looking back and I was able to see what's actually starting to happen right now. I started to see that there was, and this is just like the spiritual gift working, I started to see the future, and I started to see that where we were headed with the stability of the country was going to a very, very unstable place, as it already was very unstable. During 2020s, we had a lot of rioting, we had a lot of issues, social issues at that. So this is in my head, just for those that got caught on late. This is enhancement of the eye, but I was really looking into all that and seeing spiritually what was unfolding after January 6th, around that time. But before January 6th, like I said, around December 21st, I started to have these spiritual visions and starting to see things, futuristic visions. And the first one was after watching January 6th, I started seeing that there was going to be a lot of terrorist attacks happening, and there was going to lead to a civil war in America. And at that time, I was really like, it was like so clear to me, and I didn't know when it was going to happen. So I decided that I need to get up out of here and head to Mexico, because I just felt like the instability of American society was overwhelming for me, because I spent a lot of time researching. On top of that, I have my own spiritual practices, and I was just seeing too much and feeling and sensing too much, being an empath. There's so many levels of spirituality, where you start to sense more around you, and your eyes are more open, and you're putting pieces together that most people just can't see, and you just feel alone because you see and you know things that other people just can't grasp, because quite frankly they don't want to. They don't want to think about certain things, and number two, that they don't have the same spiritual vision, or haven't operated or haven't opened their spiritual eye enough to be able to see, expand their consciousness, to be able to see the possibilities of something like that. So you find yourself standing alone. You lose friends, you lose people, and you try to tell them these things that say, "Hey, I seen something coming. America is very unstable right now, and there's going to be a civil war." And I feel like at the time, Donald Trump was going to lead a civil war regarding the election, because even though Biden hadn't won already, or he did win actually. Sorry, they were trying to prevent it, of course. They were hoping to overturn the election with some, approving the results. Now, I'm not saying anything was stolen, other than it does look like it, but I don't know. But anyway, I'm not gonna get into none of the conspiracy stuff. It's just not my aim. But I'm separate from America, observing it. Actually, that's my stance. Like, if anyone wants to put it for the record, I'm just an observer and talking about, and I'm saying it does look a little fishy what happened back in the election, just like it was kind of fishy back in the 2000 election. That was kind of fishy. So this one's even more fishy, and it's causing. And I thought at the time that Donald Trump they were going to find it, and they were going to and it was going to be a whole mess, right? So we're in a different universe now. I was seeing something early, but like I said, it was just prophetic vision. It's something I was growing in, and I made a move to Mexico. But before that, I don't want to talk about this. This is the main point of the awakening, the journey portion of this message is relationships. And I really need to talk about my awakening journey in 2020 and 2021 with pursuing relationships. Now, just to give a background, I was married before, but I'm not going to talk about that today. After that situation, I became a lot wiser in how I handle my relationship life. Because it takes a lot out of you when you do something that for the wrong reason, and you find out later that it was a big mistake, and you cost a lot of time and energy and things like that. So you learn how to be a lot wiser in your next decisions with women. So during the pandemic, just to kind of go back to 2020, I found myself basically, here in a new country, which kind of funny. I'm back in America, which is kind of new, having to make new friends during the pandemic. So it was like one of the most lonely times, other than, other times in my life, which basically has been a very, very, when I think about it, just kind of used to growing up alone. But during the pandemic, it was actually very lonely because you didn't have much. People were afraid to even talk to each other. People were afraid to, you had to get on Zoom with everybody and everything. It was really a hard time to connect. And but during that time, I did strengthen in that area. But it was still, nonetheless, very difficult to build relationships or meet anyone, or go out on a date or do anything because everything was shut down. So you learn how to navigate the situation. So I started to date. Met someone through some friends in 2020, and I don't assassinate anyone's character, talk about anybody in that regard. But I do know that it was something that I had gotten into through just being in a certain state of consciousness where it was like, I'm so stressed out because of this pandemic. I'm so stressed out. I don't have no friends, and I latched on to a certain young lady that I shouldn't have latched on to now in retrospect because of the difference in just the basic difference of who we were. And here I was once again going down another. I talked about this last episode. You get on a circumstance loop where you're constantly attracting the same type of people because you haven't changed your mind or you haven't adjusted your mindset enough to or raise your vibration to attract the better people. So you get caught in a circumstance loop whenever you do the same thing and expect a different result. And that's what I was doing with dating. I was dating the same type of, like I talk about these, beautiful bad type of chicks that, men, just constantly going after. And I was always kind of drawn to attract that type of women. But I always realized, it was, especially now, being more awakened, it's trouble. You go out, you get the baddest chick in the room. Everybody wants her. Everybody's your target. And I was always going for just a girl that's just way more beautiful than I was ready to maintain, if that makes sense. And I knew that. But because it was, struck my ego, having some chick that, I thought that's fine, whatever. But it wasn't good for me. And when I thought back, when I started, turning on the thinking cap, and I sit back and have self-awareness sessions with myself and just going through my life, I'm these type of women just don't do anything for me, but take a lot of things from me. They leave me to the side. I'm not really what they ideally want, but I just kind of some kind of guy that fits something that they want, but not entirely. So it was a constant battle of picking the wrong women and then seeing the end result not be what I expected, and that's what life is a lot of times. And that's how we learn that, hey, I'm on a certain state of consciousness that draws and attracts these particular people. If I raise my level of consciousness, meaning let me explore other types of women, let me explore the other ideas about relationships, and let me see what works, because this thing that I was doing just wasn't working, and it was causing me a lot of pain, and it was just something that I just shouldn't have been in. So where am I going with this? This person that I was dating was very similar to a lot of people that I've been running to, and some of the characteristics, I'm just gonna say some of the characteristics you see, especially when you start opening up the realms of psychology. I'm a very studious person, and one thing people don't know about me is that I'm in books. I'm in researching consistently. I mean, when I wake up in the morning, every time I have a thought, I know how to sleuth the web, right? I know how to sleuth books, even finding information. And I'm studying psychology, and I'm seeing what these call these narcissistic traits, and not just in just one or two women I date, like 8 out of 10. And I'm like, wow, this is something that where it makes it hard to even like relate, like have a personal, like even friendship, when people think too highly of themselves. So much so that they think they're all that in a bag of chips, and that they're the prize, they are the cream of the crop. You being in their presence is the gift, and so forth. Where you feel like they make you feel like you have to cater more to them, and if you get out of line, there will always be trouble if you don't have a different form of thought or challenge the way they think. And I would see this often, not even be able to have conversation with women because I thought differently. I never argue with people. I just talk about what I talk about, and people always have upset because I reach into things that are a little deep. And I just can't help it. That's who I am. If you can't handle it, I just feel like that's just something that you're a little fragile, because I'm just talking about reality. So that's my biggest problem with life. I talk about reality in a philosophical way. I think about it and I say, look, what do you think about X, Y, Z? What do you think about that? And people are challenged. They just don't like it. And I'm like, okay, well, this is something here in reality. You'll come across it sooner or later. That's just my thoughts on that. But I always have conflict just on that basis. It's just a different form of thought, and I'm just like, and people just don't like it. And I'm saying, hey, well, what do you want me to do? I'm just thinking, just being myself. And this, people just don't want you thinking or talking about certain things. But I learned that, that's, you deal with, that's how you who's not for you if you can't have a conversations about simple things that are dear to you, without triggering someone's whatever problem they have within. So I started to notice that there was an incredible amount of narcissism in the female interactions, in my female interactions that I have. And no, I don't bash women. I'm not a woman hater. I actually love women. I actually adore and admire them. But I do notice trends. I do notice a lot what a lot of people are talking about, even like Kevin Samuels. I got into, I just took time to listen to him. I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan. And I wasn't someone who was a detractor. I was just kind of curious, and because he was saying things that did resonate. Just to stay on track, I was in a relationship with someone that I seen these traits that I'd recognized, before, after, during, that there is a certain mindset here that just expects another human being, which is the male, to simply almost be in obedience or subservience to this particular mindset that this person has, that's been developed actually through the society that they live in, which I'm going to talk about as we go forward. But you start to see that there's people have an overinflated sense of being, a sense of importance, that so much so that any little thing can trigger that. It can be a problem. So you start to see that, and you start to notice that it's hard to have simple relationships with people, because you feel like you're walking on an eggshell type of thing, because this person's ego, this person's type of pride or mentality is just very big and large and fragile at the same time. I even remember having a conversation like, I don't always go for the prettiest girl, and this person was kind of offended because like, well, what do you think about me? I'm like, well, I think you're pretty, but I'm not gonna sit here and say you're the most beautiful woman I've seen, but they want you to do that, and they almost want you to. It's like a lie, though, if I do tell you that. So, you're not to get on a tangent with this, but this was something that I was seeing upon coming back to America after living in Asia for quite a long time. I was coming back home and almost forgot, had amnesia about like dating a lot of American women, and I just started to realize, oh, this is having like a counter, what do you call that, a reverse culture shock, and just kind of shocked that women were this in this society, this self-centered, and this focused on self so much that if you got to get in line with them or it's the highway. And I seen this in my marriage. I seen this, and I realized it is a cultural thing. So as a countercultural revolutionist, I decided to explore different forms of relationships simply because what I know and that's going on in Western society, that's the predominant idea that is really not a fair thing. And when I examine it, it's not fair to men. And I don't mean to be biased. I'm not a biased person, but after examining it, I was like, this thing is unfair to these, especially these good men out here that are really trying to find love and to do the right thing. It was a lot of just trauma. You deal with other people's trauma all the time, and just a lot of mess. So we live in a big traumatic ball of shit, really, when we think about it. Because everybody's traumatized, everybody has issues, it is always, and at the same time, everybody's trying to get in relationships, which then continues that same cycle of being in the same state of consciousness as you go through different people. You realize it's not them, it's you. So, saying to say, realize we have cultural issues, realize we have all these problems. This is what led me up to what I'm doing today. It's like every single step I've been through over these last few years was like leading me to what I'm doing today. To challenge our culture to think differently. I'm not even going to do this in the name of spirituality so much anymore. This is actually in the name of social, cultural revolution. It's like, can we have change? Can we talk in dialogue to the point where we come to a place of equilibrium and understanding of each other? That's where we need to get understanding, overstanding of all these things that we're dealing with society as a whole. So, not to get too far off, but I just started to notice all these things, and I'm realizing after being married and going into the dating field, it's really a changed world. It's really something that is very difficult to relate to. Just sometimes I'm like, look, let's just be a regular human. Let's be like friends. Back when we were like we were kids, right? When you were a kid, when a younger girl would actually, I mean, every time I got into a relationship when I was a little kid, kissing a girl, whatever, they always came to me, and that's what I learned, that women are actually, when they were actually more aggressive than they actually give themselves to be. When they want something, they know how to get it on the most part. And it just, when they start learning stuff when they get older, it just starts to flip. And I'm like, things are very different even than how we were back in when I study history. So saying all to say, not to get on a tangent, our culture, our society, our dating field, dating arena is all but messed up. All but needs change. And that's what I want to bring to the table, is changing how we think. So this is the intro. I always kind of do an intro, just set things up. 2020, I was meeting and dating the same type of women and having seen the same type of things, experiencing the same type of lies, even deceptions and things like that. So I just started to realize that society does not cater to relationships. It's like one of my first awakenings was in relationships, when I realized that society does not cater to this, to people building love, people finding it. We're too busy. We're enslaved. When you think about it, we're chasing money. We have the wrong priorities, all of us, and it's all based on self. It's all based on what we want, feelings, desire, which we're all kind of programmed into us by a matrix that we live in. So, we need help as a society. We need help, y'all. We need to think. We need to grow. We need to think. We need to grow. We need to change. We need to rearrange our minds. Our mindsets don't work nothing. We don't do nothing but cry. We don't do nothing but die, lie, steal, cheat, kill, beat, feel, treat, steal, kill, and destroy. We do the enemy in its will. And it's for real. And it's for real. And it's for real. Yo. Kevin Samuels was a prophet. He was speaking not for profits. He was already rich. He had his money. Y'all was acting super funny. I'm speaking for him. I'm coming up. Everybody wanna throw. You know what's up. You know I'm speaking facts. And I got your back. Everybody trying to come up and think better. Everybody trying to come up and think better. Alright. Let's get back. I take little freestyle breaks. I was staying lit. Oh, there you go. Freestyle breaks. Like, I haven't really freestyled in a long time, so if I do mess up, I'm just like trying to get back in the flow of it, because I do want to start doing music again. I'm a big on writing poetry and things like that. That's more of my art. But I do want to start putting in the musical field, just get this information out the best way we can. It's all about getting conscious out the best way we can, man. All right, so back to the story. So 2020, I'm in a circumstance loop, dating the wrong person, and I'm realizing also this person was not being totally honest with me about a lot of things. I was actually in a certain mind frame where I was like tired of, because when I was living in Taiwan, I was like, sleeping around a lot. I was really I was doing what guys do in the most part, and things were really lonely. Didn't have many friends, didn't have many people that I could really connect with. And you go through, lonely, and you want your lonely time, and you come back home in a sense like, okay, I want to start to build something with somebody. I want to have a family or something like that. You start having these desires for something that you feel gives you comfort. You feel it gives you a sense of stability. And the only reason I wanted to kind of go back to trying to like get married in this same system that I was used to doing, because it's all I knew, and I felt like at the time it's all my consciousness knew about, was all aware of, and I felt like this is the only thing that's going to make me feel, I guess, to give me that stability to get married and so forth, right? So I was really on that tip, trying to get married so that I could have stability. And what the sad thing was, I just could not find somebody with a certain mindset that I can trust, because I felt like I had a lot that I wanted to do, a lot to offer the world still. And it was like certain people, their mindset I can't get with. So, and I'll find myself sacrificing my dreams because certain people's mindset that I'm with won't allow me to do it. And when I started seeing these things pop up and appear, it was like, okay, this person is not somebody that can help me be the best me. And I'm realizing that in it, and I find myself continuing to be in it because you get caught in the trap loops of making your personal decisions. So just long story short, as I'm waking up, I'm seeing this person not being too honest. I'm seeing these things that I'm looking for and I'm not seeing. I'm like, everything is like, you're programmed one way. You're programmed to seek this thing. Even though, like I said, the Bible tells you to cleave unto your wife. We're going to talk about. I have a sermon called the Source Code that's coming, and you see what the Bible says about cleaving into a wife and finding a good person to settle down, and all these different things, right? And you start realizing, hey man, the math ain't mathing here, man. Like, people are not like on a grand scale right now. I don't know if people can feel this. On a grand scale, people aren't right, man. You want to know why? Because psychologically, people are messed up. Even this person was seeing a psychologist at the time, or a therapist at the time. I can tell that there was turmoil inside a person's soul, because my eye was awakening, and I was seeing this person's lies, and I was seeing the deceptions. I was seeing things about them that they couldn't even see about themselves. And I was just going along with it, hoping that at first I was hoping that this person would maybe I'll rub off on them and they will change, and maybe we can do something, because I knew that they weren't being totally. I knew that they're probably with some other guys, so I knew that. I wasn't that alarmed by that. It was more like, I just want you to be open and honest. It was kind of like that type of thing. And I felt like this person was trying to keep me in a certain compartment for whenever they needed me, and I could see through all this. And it was really something that I felt I was feeling for, because also that person was using some magic on me. I knew that person was using. Actually, when I was praying to God, God revealed that to me. That person was using what they call witchcraft or whatever, like certain ceremonial, ritualistic things to use energy to, so those that know. And using these things, I could see what was happening, and that this person was trying to just kind of keep me there, just until they groomed me into a certain place. And this is what we're seeing. A lot of women would try to take a man and put them in their program, and make sure that they stay in that program, and make sure that they are fit to the vision that they have, which this person will tell me their visions and things like that. Will tell me, what they want, and they want to put you in that instead of a mutual thing that you build together. It's like women come in with it in the relationship with already this pre-imagined way it's gonna go and everything we're gonna do, and then you find yourself as a man conflicting with that. You're like, hey, I don't really want to go this way. I don't really want to do this, and it's happened in my marriage as well. It's like, look, I don't like this way. But it doesn't matter, because the moment you protest it, you're in trouble. You're gonna take your sex away. They're gonna do something that's going to keep you in line and make you get back in line with the plan. So it's a subconscious power struggle, because most people aren't gonna tell you, all right, I have this plan to put you in, and you're gonna fit this perfectly, because I've been dreaming of this thing since I was a little girl. They're not gonna tell you that, but that's what's going on in a lot of women's minds. And I was starting to even see that, even dating, just kind of just practicing observing, right? I was seeing a lot of women just carry out this type of fantasy of building this home life with this man, and it has to be a good man that they can trust, but themselves aren't held to the same accountabilities. And I was seeing this, and I was like, oh my God, I can't even date. It was really, after a while, I was like, yo, I'm being manipulated, I'm being lied to, and I know it. I'm gonna realize my eyes fully open, because during that time, I was open. My eye was opening. We were. The planet was raising the consciousness. Everybody was raising the consciousness, and everything that was a lie, people were starting to see through it. And I started early, and throughout the whole year, and it got to the point where I was emotional towards this person for a while. Actually, just kind of make a long story short, after we were having sex and things like that, and I became emotionally attached to them, because that's what happens when you're at a certain state of consciousness, which is in the seat of your emotions. When you are in the seat of your emotions, you're going to get attached to people, because you live in that seat. When you live above this seat of emotions, you use emotions at will, instead of them overriding your way, overriding your life of your own actions. That makes sense. But when I actually started using my mind, when you have feelings for somebody, you can start to think through it, and those feelings can start to unravel when you start to think instead of being the feeling. So when I started to sit back during my own meditative moments, I was sitting back thinking about my life and what's going on. I'm seeing myself in this situation. It's like there are things that aren't right, and I'm like, there's no way I can build a future with this person. I just remember saying that, and I was like, there's no way. And so it was like, and I remember asking that person, like, hey, do you want to have a relationship? Like, seriously, I don't want to like continue doing whatever we're doing. And after I asked about the second time, it was like, yo, I'm gonna play the game. So I just continued to play, and knowing that person was doing it, and I started doing my own, and I actually started to enjoy the relationship. And then it got to the point where it was like, funny thing is, I told this person a long time when I'm a nomad, I'm kind of nomadic, and when it's time to go, it's time to go, because I really didn't trust America too. I did an interview at NBC, everything talking about me leaving because I can't live in America. But this person was surprised when I was like coming up to this January 2021. I was like, yo, I'm leaving, and this person was very devastated, like crying and wanting me to stay. And I'm like, yo, we were playing this game with me the whole year, and it's, however long we were seeing each other, and it was like it didn't matter. Like, you know what I mean? It's like I learned, like, life started to teach me with dealing with people that you really don't matter to people unless you're giving them something. And I'm like, yo, whatever I was doing for you, I'm ready to move on. And like, cause I asked that person twice if they wanted to make it serious, and that person wasn't sure. So, and it was just kind of like later on, people are crying and wanting me to stay. I'm like, well, I was there, and I was trying to like tell you, like, look, I would like to be with you, and that person just ignored it, but just didn't take it seriously. And now when I'm ready to, because I can pack up quick and go, that's kind of my style. I can just get up and boom. And that person was totally surprised, and it showed that it taught me a lot. Like, it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about the humans we have today. Like, there's no heart and soul really. It's really all about, did people getting what they want out of you, and kind of like, if they keep getting something they want out of you without changing what they're doing, then they gonna keep on doing it. And when you realize that, you can play a power game too. And my power game was like, yeah, I may not be able to pull like all the guys you probably pulling, like in a verse with women, but I'm still have a very wise person. I know I basically know some things, and I know how to unhook myself from people when I need to unhook myself from people without feeling emotional about it, because I understand emotion. I understand how to direct. Even back then, I got into what's called stoicism, and stoicism helps me switch that emotional thing off, and when I need to, and it's time to get something done or time to do something very important for myself. And I don't really need this philosophy so much anymore because I'm at a higher state of consciousness. But during that state of consciousness I was on, I needed that philosophy called stoicism to help me center my emotions away from what people would be doing around me, because people would do some stuff to you, especially during this day and age. There's no people don't go to church no more. people don't have somebody telling them every week that they need to get better and change anymore. So people are living in their own like way, in a way that is like destructive, in a sense, like they can't relate to people. So and we start to see that society doesn't have an anchor, doesn't have a real moral strong anchor, other than as long as I'm not breaking the law, I'm good. And that's what people think. So you start to see that throughout society, and you're like, look, there's no way I can have a relationship with people. I just started really to accept in one degree, like, look, it is what it is, man. Like, look, I'm somebody who wanted love and all this stuff. I'm like, look, this stuff don't work. We don't live in a society that caters to this, as I was alluding to earlier. We really don't. We live in a society that caters to selfishness, that caters to greed, that caters to lust, that caters to everything that is anti or counterproductive to a society that is wholesome. Yeah, we living for self, and it's showing like to degrees that are dangerous for the collective. When and I'm gonna start talking. I start talking about the mysteries of God, and some of the things that I'm starting to cover is that we are all one body in God, and there are parts of the body that never get in line. Just imagine if your foot would just go Tourette's every day and start doing what they wanted to do. That's what people do apart from God. And I'm not being religious, but we just don't have no light. And I'm trying to tell y'all, it's like there's no light in people's soul. They got Instagram pictures in their soul. They got these trap music in their soul. People got they did such a good job with the social engineering here, because now it's like there's no moral compass. Like I said, there's no, you don't have no more Malcolm X's. You don't have no more Martin Luther Kings. You have a bunch of greedy pastors just looking for money. There's no light no more in the way we deal with each other. And I see it all the time. And so I'm learning even right now to accept the fact that we live in perilous times, as the Apostle Paul said it in, I think, Timothy. Perilous times will come when men shall be lovers of themselves. Let me get that scripture out. Let me get that, because this is a Black Hebrew Jesus. Just give y'all. I'm going to talk about spiritual things as well, social things. I'm going to talk about it all. So, where's perilous times? What's that? I like the internet because I get to look up the scriptures this way. 2 Timothy chapter 3. Let's go. Let's read this real quick. Let's read this. So this is why we are dealing with what we're dealing with. And I'm still staying on track of the awakening. This is awakening I was starting to have during this time when I was dating women. And dating, and I'm just not talking about women. There's women that's dating men that ain't got no soul. It's really people that's out here, especially I'm seeing dudes just living for the flesh, man. Literally just like, look, I'm just going. So that perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady. Oh man, there's so many people that are heady people that I have the biggest issues with. High-minded, the second thing. Lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. Look, there's people that love. Look, I'm not talking about Christianity. I'm not talking about loving this mind control program, because if you know me, you know that I'm not for religion. I'm for a higher spiritual cause in people's lives to help them do better, because there is something there. You just have to find it for yourself. And everyone should go on this path discovering truth. But what I'm finding is that people are love pleasure so much. Like we're living for literally for the next thrill, for the next vibe, we call it, right? The next thing we're gonna do for ourselves, more than we love God. And it's getting to the point where I'm like, yo, what this book is talking about. I'm literally, even though I'm not that Christian person, because it would validate my theology at the time, but what it does for me now is allows me to see that I have the same gifts and ability to see as they did, and these prophets and these preachers of old, with the writings we're looking at, and they're talking about what they see in the future, and just like they saw this today, I'm seeing not only this today, but I'm also seeing where it's leading to, which I'm going to get into later. So the lovers of pleasure, more lovers of God. People rather do something like drink Henny and go out to the strip club and go buy Gucci and go buy all these things and go on trips to Barbados. And well, nothing against that, but just going and just to go on a trip to show their pictures off, and so they can look like they're better than other people. When I tell you people love pleasure, they love Sin City. You know, don't get me wrong. I love bad bitches too. Don't get me wrong. But I have balance in my life, tremendous amount of it. Actually, that stuff is like a very little amount of my life I do, as opposed to. And so we talk about having balance, having understanding where these things fit and where they're appropriate. Like Jesus, they call Jesus a wine bibber because every once in a while he'd be at a celebration having wine, right? Me, I'm gonna be at a celebration having a drink and having a wine and kick it, talking to some girls. You're gonna see me doing that too. That doesn't mean I spend my life that way. That is like, I can go months without doing that and then come back to it and do it once or twice and then go back to being months without it, because it's called self-control, being a self-master. But people love pleasure more than they love anything that has to do with anything divine. Here's the kicker, verse 5. Having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. And then it tells you right there, from such type of people, get the hell out of their face. From such, turn away. So there's people that have a form of godliness. It's like, have you ever met people that like, yeah, I'm spiritual. I hear women all the time. God bless their soul. I'm spiritual. I'm like, okay, what should you be doing? I be meditating. Okay, what does that do for you? I just be like, getting in touch with my ancestors, and I'm like, okay, but you're like, what is it? How is it transforming your life? It's like now people just want to say that they have something. Oh, I'm a Christian, or I'm a Jew, or I'm a Muslim. They're just saying that they're these things, but it has no power in their life. It's a joke. It's like, okay, it's like me saying I'm a CEO. Be like, okay, well, what kind of business you run? Oh, I'm just like, I'm a CEO in name. Like, I just be here and I make my own money. Okay, but what do you do though? Oh yeah, I got a little account. I make my money. On Forex. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a CEO. That's what that's like. You're not a CEO. You're just somebody who's making money. You can't say that you have a spirituality and you have no spiritual ritual with it that you do to lift yourself off from the dark. People have a form of godliness, but they deny the power. People are such in the third dimension today that they don't care about nothing. When you start mentioning things that have to do with purifying your soul and your heart and the power of change, they don't want to hear it. And this is where we at, and this is what I'm dealing with. This is why I don't care. People don't gotta look. I'm not here to tell people what to do, but I'm telling y'all what y'all doing right now. It ain't working. This shit is crazy. When you sit back for a moment and think about reality for a second, you're like, yo, reality just ain't reality right now. I know it ain't a word, but reality ain't reality. Reality-ing right now. Because people acting like they're spiritual, but they're not. People acting like they're good, but they're not. Like I said, people think being good is just not doing nothing to nobody, nothing wrong with nobody. And that's actually, if you want to get into scriptures, that's actually the opposite of what God wants. God wants you to actually do good things for people. And this is kind of what I have to teach, so people can go up to higher levels of consciousness when they start to think about others and do good things for others. The mold starts to break from you, the mode of selfishness, and you start to see things in a new light. And you grow spiritually when you decide to give your heart to other people, not expecting anything in return, but just giving just because. And that's what I practice. I always like to be there for people. I like to, whatever people got going on, if I can support, I'll come on and support. And once you learn to be a supportive ear, learn to be someone who gives and not expect nothing in return, you're going to have a good life, because you're creating a good karmic situation for yourself when you give to others. Even the Bible says give in Matthew chapter 6 verse 33, and I can start really getting back into the word on y'all, man. Now that's Luke 6:38. Give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, running over. So if you look at Matthew chapter 6:38, if you do have your Bible, it's good to be on the podcast with me, because we can have many Bible studies here. But the Bible talks about giving a lot. It talks about these things because what giving does, also the Bible said it increases the fruits of your righteousness, meaning it helps you grow to a certain extent where you're like, look, you see yourself helping other people, because you see what you see is yourself helping people just like you, how you would want help if you were in a situation. So it's going back to the ancient teachings of how to make life better. And all I see is selfishness. All I see is people living for the vibe, living for themselves, living for the glory, living for the Instagram. People are literally dying, falling off cliffs, trying to get pictures so that they can get likes. We live in a society that's self-centered. And as I got into Gnosticism, which I'm going to start teaching and break it down, is that the self-centered is the self-centered person under the guise of what we call the theides, the self-will, and they are dominated by their own self-centered interests, which they cannot see outside themselves because they never did. They don't know what it's like to be in the shoes or walk in the shoes of another person other than themselves, and we're programmed to be that way for a certain reason. And I would talk about this in the 12 dimensions of consciousness. They want us in a lower level of consciousness. When I say they, I see this in society, meaning I don't know who, but I'm saying that in society we see that people want us in survival, because when we're in survival, we're more easily controlled. And that's where we are today. We're in a state of survival, and we're in our own centered egos. We don't want to unite with anyone. We'd rather be left alone because we're traumatized by other people, which is a part of the design to keep us separate from other people, to traumatize us with the action. That's why we listen to wrong music, and it makes us. I'm gonna get into all that. Just our culture, our society makes us do what we do, and I can prove that to you. It's just more long you stay with me, I'm gonna show you the stuff we listen to, the things the cultural things we do, food we eat. Everything's connected to the energy we carry, and if you are continuing doing the same thing, it's because you're programmed to it, and that's why you can't break out of it. Some people can't stop eating pigs. Sorry, forgive me. They can't stop eating pork. Knowing is bad for them. Seeing the data, seeing the heart disease and everything it gives you, but they can't because they're controlled by their body. They haven't learned self-control yet. Their body brain has taken over them, and they cannot stop themselves from eating something that's killing them. That's what we call addiction. So when you start studying Gnosticism, you start to understand that they put it in the spiritual language, but what's going on the inside of us. The kingdom of God is on the inside of us, and a lot of our kingdoms are under attack. Our temples are under attack by Theides, by the lust of the flesh, by the emotional imbalances, by all these different ideas that get us off track and keep us out of our God zone. So I'm going to talk about more of that as I get into my church, Faith Deconstructed, as we teach and preach the real word, what's called the words of the Logos, which is the consciousness of God, not words on a paper. I'm going to get into that too. I'm going to both I'm confuse a lot of people, but also bless a lot of people at the same time. But just stay with me, and we're going to get there. But just saying to say, dating is messed up because of what I just read. Paul told y'all right here that people have a form of God. People think they spiritual. People think they going to heaven. I'm not gonna talk about that today. But people think they going to heaven, and they think they going. All right. Verse 6. It says, "For of this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women, laden with sins, led away with divers lusts." All right, Leo. I'm gonna stop there for a moment. Right there. There are a lot of silly women, and dudes just come look. I seen dudes. Look, I know dudes, man. I've seen brothers. Look, I'm about to go. They always say I'm about to go XYZ, do this to this girl, and they get away with it. They walk up to the chick, do a whole little game, because she's in her little program. He's able to manipulate the program in that person's head. This is where we get into magic witchcraft, when someone can manipulate the programs in your mind and get you to do things for themselves. So men have a way through, they always get women that are so desperate for relationships. That's why I try to teach women, don't be so desperate and emotional for this thing. You got to learn how to subject your emotion under your will, because the emotion can lead someone astray, and men know how to do this to certain women. So they'll go up to them and then say some game, and they have to draw in a couple hours, literally, because it's magic. So we're dealing with it, and I love spoils and magic because people gotta stop using this stuff on each other. We gotta stop using magic on each other. It's not right. Some of us know certain magic tricks. Some of us know how to manipulate the minds of others because we have a higher state of consciousness than others, but that's not the way to do it. So I like to expose these, what I call these black magic type witches and anything like that, because that's not how you use magic, and that always brings it back to you in a way that never works. I don't know why people haven't learned this. It just, the way the universe is, it brings it right back to you. Like the energy you're putting out there, if it's negative in any way, just know it's coming back to you in one form or another. It's going to hit you. And that's where you got to understand the laws of the universe before you start using magic. And I'm going to talk about magic as well as we go on the podcast and on Faith Deconstructed, so we understand what this is instead of having a lot of spooky ideas about it based on ignorance. It's not Harry Potter. It's not Hocus Pocus. It's actually very, very it's actually serious practices that, if you don't believe me, go to India. CIA knows about these things. If you don't believe me, there are people that are doing things. They're able to do amazing things with spirituality, defy physical reality. And I've seen things myself at my research and study on these things. But we must not use them on each other, because if we do, we will bring that darkness to us. The dark hole. We learn this in a lot of different things. So I'm going to say, women are, and I'm just saying, like, there are people out here that just don't have no brain. Somebody can come and lead them astray, just that easy. And it says they were led away with divers lusts. So I'm in 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 6. First, 2 Timothy verse 3, 2 Timothy chapter 3 verse 6. 1 through, I'm gonna go to 1 through 7. It says, ever learning and never able to come to knowledge of the truth. And this is the last part. You can't talk to people no more because they have so much stuff in their head. They always think what's in their head is right. So when they hear something different, it's a trigger. People program themselves with their own egotistical ideas, that thinking that they're right and correct all the time. So they program themselves when they hear something different, they're triggered by it. I don't do that simply because I know everyone's on their own state of consciousness. Even though I might know something that someone else does, I always try to correct people because I know how annoying that is. You're spending all your time trying to correct people. It really, really, really makes you have a bad relationship when you have to just always be triggered by, oh, I learned this certain thing, and because this person doesn't know this, I need to tell them they need to think the way I think. And this is where we get into these things that I see often, because people don't know how to turn that thing off that's always trying to correct people and criticize and feel like you're right above someone else. So you can't listen to people if you always think you know the truth, if you always think you have it. I love listening to people. I always say, hey, share what you have, because I'm here to learn about information. It's all gathering information to me. It's nothing I'm going to believe what you say. I'm not going to disbelieve what you say. I want to hear it. And when you get to that state of consciousness, you're in the fifth dimension. You're in a place where you're thinking clearly about life. You don't have bias. So, man, I'm going in on that. So I'm just gonna say this podcast I might just be doing 2 hours, because there's so much to talk about in our society, and I have to go in. This is what I'm here for. The preacher, the teacher, the prophet, the socket. We rock it. We blowing up. We blowing up. We know it up. We know it up. We gonna speak the truth. The truth. The truth. We gon' speak the truth. I'm taking this out of my head. Alright, so saying to say I was in a relationship and I was learning so much. I learned that we live in perilous times. We live in dark times. People don't care about each other no more like they used to. We don't have brotherly and sisterly love. We don't have community no more, because it was bred out of us. They did a good job at making us so afraid of each other through constant showing each other stuff on TV and the media. Just know this, even the scripture says that faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word of God. What people fear and what they believe, both, comes from constantly hearing and seeing certain things. It's programming. It's programming. Over and over. It's programming. Programming. It's programming. It's over and over. It's programming. It's programming. It's programming. It's over and over. It's programming. So that's what starts to happen when we're constantly hearing the same things over and over again. We start believing in it. This is MK Ultra mind control stuff. I'm gonna get into later, but everybody's been subjected to it, and that's why we need to do deconstruction. That's why I teach deconstruction, because if we don't deconstruct our mind, what's gonna happen is we're gonna continue thinking the same way, continuing repeating the same results, because we don't understand where things come from and why we do certain things. All right, so I gotta hurry along because I'm staying on the subject of relationships. Maybe I'm staying on this for a while because in 2020, I was having my awakening regarding these thing we call relationships and why we're doing them, what's happening, why do I feel this way, why I keep going after these type of women, why I keep hurting myself, because that's what I was doing. I was just hurting myself, live like a crazy person, just continuing to do the same things over and over again. And I realized it's me, it's nobody else, it's me. So I can't make excuses for stuff that's happening because I'm the one that's doing it. I'm in charge. When you get past the seventh dimension, you're like, I'm a self-master. You know, like you know everything's your responsibility at that point. You don't blame anything other than yourself, because you have the power of God in you. The kingdom of God is within you. You can change and do anything you want, but you gotta change your mind first. So the awakening, the journey, the awakening, the journey, the awakening, the journey, the awakening, the journey. Let's roll some more weed real quick, because we're just gonna go. We're gonna do this in segments. We're gonna split this up. I gotta learn how to edit. I'm very terrible with this stuff, but we're gonna get it flowing. So the awakening, the journey. All right, so I'm in a relationship and I got out of it. The person tried to hang on, and I'm like, no, I gotta go. And I'm not gonna get into some other stuff I found out later. I felt like later God was revealing to me like stuff was not true. The other person tried to come back around, talking about they had a miscarriage. I don't know if I believe that anymore. Because none of that made sense now that I think about it in retrospect. So it's kind of like I knew something said was right. People are out of control now in this society. Like, it's at the point where it's getting, people don't want to be honest. People don't want to be authentic anymore. And that's what we're dealing with as a society. Is there's no authenticity in our being. It's just people trying to be things that they're not, because they have an overinflated view of themselves. Men are lovers themselves. As we just read the scriptures, it prophesied this a long time ago. Like, we live in a day and age where we see it all on social media, Instagram models, constantly, this ass all over Instagram. I had to get off. I'm tired, actually. I got off of that. It's nothing real on it. It's nothing real. It's not even real people. You don't even know if you're talking to real people a lot of times. That's how messed up our world is. You don't know if you're talking to real people when you get on the internet, man. You don't even know if you meet real people when you meet them these days. Like, people will fake it. Man, I'm telling you, man. So, you just have to use an extreme amount of lot of wisdom in this day and age, because people are wild on both sides. I'm talking about men and women. Actually, funny thing, Kevin Samuels got on men and women. We watched all his shit. He was getting on all of them. Because our society's fucked up. Excuse my language, but it is. We can't even relate and date. Like, people was lonely and single because, look, people don't know how. Nobody sat us, gave us a class. Hey, how do we interact with each other? How do we, be human? No, we were raised by consumerist, cultural things that were created to us and sold to us through television. That's who we are. That's the mirror right there, y'all. We are, and I had to deprogram myself of this. We are what we seen on television all from as long as we being able to have eyes in this country, in America. I'm speaking for Americans because you don't see this everywhere in every other countries. That's what I'm gonna talk about it in another time. It's easier to date people like that I'm starting to see now outside of America and the West because they didn't grow up with the same program. There's some, but it's not as severe. It's not like MK Ultra like it is here. I mean, it is in American society. So it's deep, man. And it's like, and like, there's no disrespect to those people I dated. It's just what my experience was and what I was seeing, and it's actually a symptom of the programming of our culture. We weren't raised by anything pure and wholesome. We were raised by pop culture, TV, celebrities. Think about that. Look at celebrity lives. I mean, really, do they have stable relationships? No. Look at stable relationships. Look at the relationships of our generation. It's about the same to me, doesn't it? So you start opening your eyes. You start awakening. You're like, hey, none of this stuff works. All these girls do is twerk. All these dudes do is look. Don't nobody know how to cook. Everybody don't read no books. All these niggas do is hooks. On they trap music. On they cat music. Always rap music. Alright, I'll be freestyling, man. That's all I'll be doing. I don't even write nothing. The culture, man. A lot of work to do on the inside. There's nobody, like, I don't hear no voices telling people to do it. I see a lot of people trying to make money and things like that on spirituality and trying to get, but no. Who's really out here trying to shape the minds of young people? Like, there's no organizations no more that go into and counteracting a lot of this foolishness that people live. Like, these kids are pumping their heads with, like I said, it comes by hearing and hearing by whatever they listening to. They ain't like listening to nothing wholesome right now. And it's actually gotten worse. There is no God in none of the stuff we have. Actually, they put the opposite in there to get people thinking in a dark way, have no soul, no love in their heart. People actually, I recently saw a video on, I think it was YouTube news where it was in New York. Some dude just came from behind and sucker punched somebody, and literally dude hit the ground, and everybody just looked and was like, "Whoa!" and moved out the way. And it was just like, even you seen a security guard walk by, and it was like, "Yo, there's no love no more." I realized this even just the other day. It was like, "Yo, people just don't care, man. If you, the longer you don't get in the way of their life, they don't care about you. If you get in the way, they're like, oh yeah, I need to handle this situation." But if you're someone on the peripheral these days, if you're some dude laying on the street, no one thinks twice about you no more. We don't have the preachers to say, hey, y'all need to take care of your fellow man. There's nobody here doing that right now. So that's why I'm on my podcast right now, telling my stories, talking about spirituality, talking about how we can change, talking about social cultural change, because nothing's working. So yeah, awakening the journey. So long story short, let's just go, because this the part 2 2021 is gonna be probably a couple episodes here. It's probably gonna be a couple episodes, because it's a lot of stuff I gotta talk about. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. got a lot. We 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 gotta talk about. Black Hippie Jesus Podcast. It's already been over an hour. Still vibing out. Awakening the journey. It took me a different direction today, but I still gotta talk about these things. So 2021 came, and I left America suddenly and abruptly after seeing these visions, and after realizing that I had to let go of these relationships because it wasn't working for me. It was just too much of it's becoming a problem in my life, and letting people go, and I have no problem doing that when I have to, and I'm very strong in that because I live outside myself. I live for a greater cause, and for me, I don't get caught in my emotions too long, nothing like that. Just keep moving because I understand what this is we're living in. I understand what I'm here to do. I understand the timeline. Like I said, I've been deep into searching, and you know, like the Bible says, seeking you should find. That's all I do is seek. And I find a lot of things, a lot of treasures. So this is Black Hippie Jesus Podcast for today. I'm gonna end this because I think I go another hour, but I'm I know on one broadcast you're not gonna listen to this for another hour. It's like a whole movie. So I'm gonna break all this up actually and slice it up like that. And I might just do maybe one broad stream on YouTube or something like that. But just know I had to tell. I guess this is part 2 to the 2020 story. That's kind of what I guess I'm gonna relabel this as. This is part 2 to the 2020 story, where there was a relationship with a woman that woke me up to our modern issue of relationships. And I'm gonna end it right here. Just kind of get a recap to this because it's not where I wanted to go. It's kind of where the spirit kind of led me, I guess. Is to talk about dating, relating. None of this stuff is really what it used to be no more. And we got a problem. And we need to continue having discussions and conversations without getting triggered. That's one thing we gotta learn. I'm gonna keep teaching y'all this. Don't get triggered by things. Just listen. This is how you figure it out. This is how you say, you know what, this is the truth. This is how you come to conclusions that are different than what you had before. You gotta sit back and you gotta listen. And I'm gonna end on that. One of the 12 qualities of the mind, we're gonna start talking about the 12 disciples and what they represented. One of them is hearing. Jesus talked about hearing a lot. People don't listen. And people don't hear. Hearing, they don't even understand. They perceive. You perceive, but don't want to hear, don't want to understand. They want to think they know without really, really listening to know. So we're going to really break down to a lot of Christ, Jesus, and what the stuff really means. Like, what does this stuff really mean? What you find out with Gnosticism, it has more to do with this natural earth. It has more to do than heaven, anything with heaven. It's more to do with how we interact with each other as human beings. Christianity is really about the heart center and the third eye connecting. Is to go from the heart to the third eye, because that was the ascension of Jesus. He started out with the heart, boom, from heart to the eye, Christ consciousness. When you look at the world and all you see is you see the corruption, and you're like, your heart is beating it with the heart of God, and you're like, you can't let this corruption and all these people hurting and dying and having these issues. You can't continue to let this continue to go by. When you have full-blown Christ consciousness, you're like, I gotta help people. All you think about is, look, I see there's corruption. I see that there's these things happening around me. I think I can do something about this. And these are the type of people that rise up in society and they do something. And they're always remembered for history. This is the true Christianity. That's actually what it is. It's people who are activated by what they are experiencing. They're activated by the injustices in their community. And today there are so very few. We got a bunch of triggered people, but not enough people that are activated to move in a direction that solves a problem instead of complains about the problem. So that's what I'm gonna do with Faith Deconstructed. If you want to help me support my journey, I'm starting a church. I do need a lot of help with this. So, but it's to awaken the minds, to help people understand and think differently, and start to challenge the society we live in instead of giving people a nice, hopeful message about the afterlife. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm helping people awaken the mind. I'm teaching the 12 dimensions of consciousness. I have a book coming out pretty soon called The 12 Dimensions of Consciousness. And this book is going to help people understand what Jesus really was teaching about what I was just talking about. There's things actually more to do with what we're doing here on earth than anything to do with going to heaven or hell or whatever that people think about. It's really more has to do with what you do here and now and what you do with your mind, your consciousness. And so I'm going to teach that, the real truth about, or something that's missing or something different. Maybe I'm not going to say the truth, but something different, because what it is it's really just a system of thought, just a system of going deeper within yourself, being more aware, being more self-aware, being more socially aware. And that's what we're going to get into with the 12 dimensions of consciousness. So you can Cash App at Faith Decon. Once again, that is Faith Decon. If you love this content that I'm sharing here to challenge the culture, counterculture, revolutionary thought, spirituality, helping people get to a better place and ascension and consciousness as we all rise together, as we all change this world together. So I love you all. Thank you. Y'all be blessed. Kwame Selassie, Black Kid Jesus. Peace.